All right, Shalom. Let me give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Shemiah Shai, by Hashem, Harakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and those a great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. All right. And as always, the Most High's name is Yahweh. All right. And his only begotten son's name, his name is Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Shemiah Shai. Double honors the apostles and those great millstone. Shalom to hopefully elect. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites. And this these scriptures, all right, they pertain to you. This is the battle, the fight, the understanding that you need in order to know what time you're in, and the mindset that you ought to be in. All right, because we're in the latter days in which Esau, Edom, so-called white man, the devil, all right, is ruling the world through his witchcrafts and sorceries, his left hand magic, all right, and getting ready to come down having great wrath, all right. His mind is to fulfill his enterprise, his new world order, all right, in which he wants to microchip you people, all right, in order to turn you into a complete slave unto him, all right. The mark of the beast, which that's the end all be all, the final hour, you know, prepare you to your battle. Because at the end of the day, this devil wants you to submit to his new world order by integrating this technology into your body, man. Fully submitting yourself unto his image, all right, which will make you a total slave. This technology is demonic, and ultimately, it's these microchips are like little storehouses for demonic entities. So he wants to microchip people to fully, overtake them, possess them. All right. And that's basically what'll happen. You take a microchip, man, you're gonna be you know, you gonna have totally given your soul over to Satan, man. All right. There's no repentance from taking the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip, man. All right. So this is Revelation 12 and 7. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. All right, because right now Esau, he's in heaven, all right, which means he's in rulership. All right, he's in the power seat. So when he's about to get dethroned. All right, because when Esau makes his move, all right, tells you he's gonna be like a madman sparing none. When Esau comes down, having this great wrath, the Lord's gonna lift up a standard against him. Yahweh by Shemiah Shai and the angels are going to intervene, all right, to deliver the elect. You know, don't get me wrong, we're gonna go through a period of great tribulation. We're gonna go through this time, as it tells you in Daniel the 12th chapter. All right, that's what all this is for. This technology, Esau being lifted up is to be a sword unto the wicked. All right, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. All right, and ultimately, these nations are gonna fight and destroy each other. Esau is gonna fight and destroy himself. All right, so many great evils and tribulation are coming upon the earth. All through prophecy. The Lord is the one bringing all of this to pass. Esau and these nations. Well, really, all of us. Man's goings are of the Lord. Man, we're all just playing our roles, whatever our role is meant to be. That's why we're of the hopeful elect. All right. You know, being an Israelite, if you can understand the word, if this you know, this understanding reaches you, you believe in it, you have to grab hold of that. You have to grab hold of it and hold fast onto it. All right. Because at the end of the day, these scriptures were written for our learning. All these things that happened aforetime were written for our learning. All right. Because we're here to resist this devil and his system. All right. And Yahweh Shemiah Shai, he's going to help. All right. He's going to help us through this. He's going to help the elect, which we're hoping to be of the elect. So you Israelites that hear this word, you know, believe and have hope unto, salvation. You are of the hopeful elect, hoping to be delivered out of this, you know, out of this trouble, out of the wrath of Yahweh Shemiah Shai that's going to come down upon those that don't fear the Lord. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right. And he's deceiving the whole world, man. That's why all these nations are investing in this technology. All right. Which at the end of the day is going to be their undoing. Esau's own undoing. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed, Yahweh Shai. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. All right. And Esau set up this system as a weapon against you Israelites, man. He come after the working of Satan with all lying wonders and deceivableness and unrighteousness. This guy set this place up, all right, to be full of snares and nets and traps, distractions, evils, sins, iniquities, all manner of just pollution in every way possible to destroy you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, ultimately to get at the elect, you know, because Esau knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. You know, at the same time that he's doing all these things he's doing as a weapon against you Israelites, he's also hoping in his witchcraft for his own salvation, that he could merge himself with this technology, that he could use the left hand to become immortal, basically, to be like the Most High, to rule over the earth. He wants the blessing, and the way that he's going about trying to get it is to destroy you Israelites, all right, and use this left hand, witchcraft and sorcery, all right, going into all these different philosophies and idols and gods and so on and so forth, these different fables, all right, which he knows what he's doing, man. All right, that's why you look at um these different chips like motherboards, circuit boards, stuff like that, and it's all geometrical symbols and all this stuff. It all has to do with witchcraft, man. This is the harlot, man, the mistress of witchcrafts. And at the end of the day, he wants to force this technology on you to merge you with it. That's the main goal here is to force, all right, everyone into getting a microchip, to force everyone to bow down to this system, all right, and merge yourself with this technology, man. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. All right. So that's something so that's the mind state to be in. The mind state to be in is to resist this system, because this system is going to be, and already is, weaponized against the faithful, against the elect, against those that believe in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and hope in his righteousness. All right, this system and this technology is all weaponized against you. All right, it says, therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And that's why you see everything falling apart. You see this guy being revealed. Where his greatest enemy, the truth, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and the spirit and this truth is Esau's greatest enemy, because it's unraveling him. All right. His whole enterprise is being unraveled right in front of his face. He's watching the elect wake up, the men of the Lord wake up, calling upon the names of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and this guy knows the end. He knows the end of these things, man, that it's going to be his destruction. And that Israel will get the victory, man, because it's all prophecy. It's all already been foretold. We're just hoping to gain the victory through the blood of Yahweh Shai and through this testimony, through all, these words, through this understanding and our faith and belief in it. All right. Because our faith is going to be tested. This devil, he's going to come down having great wrath. All right. And he's going to use this technology to forward his agenda, and help him to bring down this great wrath, man, and to ultimately deceive, those that he can deceive into taking this, this mark. All right. So, this isn't a time to be in mirth. You know, this isn't your rest. This isn't, the pinnacle of society or the end all be all or the future, or this isn't, no damn utopia that's coming upon the earth, or no evolution of society or the evolution of man, all this transhumanism, new age bullshit. you know you got to realize what's really going on here, man. This is the devil, all right, bringing forth, you know is you know bringing forth the end, all right, bringing forth the final test, you know so he's gonna come with everything that he's got, man, but also the Lord is gonna fight against him as well. So there's hope in Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, by Shemar Kakodash. You read the scriptures and the Lord performs miracles, man. And the Lord is in control of everything. Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai is in control of everything. including this technology and Esau and these nations. He control of everything, man. Their minds, their tongues, their actions, their words, their intentions. The Lord controls all of it, man. So we just gotta hope we're of the elect, and do our best to please Yahweh by Shem Shai, by Shem HaKakodash, and to fight for salvation, to fight for what's right, to stand up for righteousness against this devil, man. All right, and his enterprise, you know. So with that, hopefully it's edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Shem Shai, by Shem HaKakodash. Double honor to the apostles and others great millstone and Shalom to hopefully elect.